I'm Miriam. I work, welcome. I'm Miriam. I work for the Firely team, and I do the fire training courses and first line support for our team. I have been working with fire since the beginning, actually, because, Ewout Kramer is my direct colleague, and you will probably see him doing the opening in a couple of minutes. At Firely, we are here to help. I'm wearing this yellow shirt. Remember us in the yellow shirts if you have any questions. So this is the 5th Fire Developer Days in Amsterdam. It's the 6th in total because in June we had one edition in Boston. This will continue for some time, I hope. Next June we will be in America again as well. And of course, this event has been sold out. So that's, I think, a good indication that this is a nice tradition and that we will continue this next year as well. 3 of the main goals for these Fire Developer Days are to learn about fire, to share things, your knowledge or your use cases and your ideas, and to connect to other people. So this room is slowly filling up more and more, and the idea is that when I'm finished with this presentation, you will see lots more people in the room that you came into with the tables on there, where you can connect to other people, where you can look at the other speakers, have discussions with other experts, and that way, share your ideas and hopefully help develop the fire standard or help yourself develop things with fire. So that's the idea for this Fire Dev Days. So if you're a first-timer, it might seem a little bit overwhelming. So that's why we do this first session. How can you make the most of your Fire Developer Days? Of course, you have this program booklet, probably. You've received that just now when registering. There's lots of information in there, and I'm not going to do any household announcements because Ewout will be doing them. So he will explain the program of these 3 days. But of course, what's important for you is to try to take a look at the schedule, and then in the schedule, check what kind of talks you would like to go to. And that's what this session actually is about. I'm going to show you a couple of interesting things or where to start sessions for these Fire Developer Days. There will also be hands-on on the tables in the rooms and breakout sessions. But if you're overwhelmed, you can always check to see if there's some space extra to sit. As you can see next to us, there's some nice couches. You can just step out of the busy main room for a while, take a colleague or take someone else interesting you've been talking to, and sit a little bit away from the busy crowd. There will be yoga sessions and other things like chair massages as well. The yoga sessions are in the schedule, so if you want to relax a little bit and have something not fire related per se, then you can take a look at those things. And as I said, look for the yellow shirts if you have any questions. So taking a look at the schedule that's in your schedule book, the schedule book, of course, is static. It will not change. But I don't know if you've entered this room before I started my presentation, you will have seen some changes to the schedule. There will always be sessions added because people have interesting ideas and say, okay, let's do a breakout session about that. So please check the online schedule as well, or the screens that will be in all of the rooms and in the big area as well. This is an example of the schedule as it was yesterday, I think, and you can see I'm looking at the Wednesday, the day today. You can take a look at the tracks. So if you look at the showing all, you can select a track if you want, the track you're interested in, and then it will just show you the sessions that are within that track. You can also select multiple tracks by just clicking another one. If you want to not show a track, then you deselect it again after you've clicked it. So those tracks are designed to inspire you, but there's no need to just follow only one track. You can take a look at the schedule and pick out the sessions that you find interesting. They also have some keywords, so if you click on them on the website, then you'll have an extra description of the session together with some keywords added. So just pick anything you like. We don't have any idea of what you are going to do. It's up to you to choose the things you find interesting. So, well, if you're new to Fire, probably you will start with the introduction sessions today, but that doesn't mean that you can't go to any other of the sessions that are not labeled as an introductory session. So just take a pick. Of course, we have a full schedule and there are a lot of interesting topics. That will mean that sometimes you will have two sessions that are in parallel at the same time, but you both find them interesting. So what you have to do then is just pick one and either clone yourself to go to the other one, or you can always check the presentations afterwards because they will be made available. So you can, well, pick one of the two that you go to at that time, and then later on view the presentations after the event. But of course, if you have found a certain interesting speaker, but you were not able to go to his or her session, you can also approach them because they will be around in the big area or they will have a tutorial following their session. So you can always approach them, ask your questions, and discuss anything that you found interesting in their topic. So I'm going to go through a small selection of the sessions we have, and these are some categories. Those are not necessarily tracks. This is just some categories I invented and found some interesting sessions on. So, well, since you're here at the first timer session, I assume that you're new to Fire Dev Days. But who of you is also really new to Fire? Oh, just a couple. So, not even half, I think, of this room. Oh, that's good. Well, for those of you who are not new to Fire, perhaps these sessions I've listed here are not so interesting. But if you're just starting out with Fire, I would recommend going to the introduction to Fire that Rick will hold today at 9, because you'll get an overview of what Fire is and the Fire components. After that, I will be doing a duo presentation with James about the Java and .NET libraries for Fire. So if you're new to developing with Fire, that could be a good starting point. There's also a session parallel to ours that covers the JavaScript libraries. So, well, if you don't go to my presentation, perhaps the JavaScript one is nice for you. If you're a modeler or want to start with modeling, then the introduction to Fire profiling is a good one to start with today as well. There's also sessions covering, well, what I call the Fire roadmap. Where are we going from here? So first one is the Fire Release 4 and what's new in that, presented by Graham today. Also, Rick will have a session on new resources for the pharma industry that will be introduced. So they are draft resources, and he will do that tomorrow. If you're more interested in developing, then packages and versioning might be a good idea, because in R4 we are going to take a look at packaging up all of the conformance resources in a package like you know from NPM packages, for instance. So that could be a good one as well for the Friday. Of course, it's not all client-based, so the introductory tutorials we do today are perhaps firstly targeted towards clients, but that doesn't mean that you can't do anything server-side. So there are also some server-oriented sessions. One is extending our Vonkfire server, that's .NET-based server. So if you're interested in that, you could go to the session that Christian will hold today. James Agnew will also talk about the Happy server, so that's the Java-based one, and how to do things with that one. And if you're interested in testing, we have Richard Ettema walking around. He will be at the testing table in the hands-on area, but he will also present something on Thursday, that's tomorrow, on Fire system testing and about certification of systems. So that could be an interesting one as well. Yesterday I had the privilege of sitting at dinner at the table with guys from these 3 companies. So we have Google walking around, we have people from Microsoft, we have someone from Amazon, and they all have interesting talks about their Fire solutions. So for Google, we have the Google Cloud API today at 9, and they will also talk about their Protobuf and Fire solution on Friday. And Microsoft, of course, has just released a post about their Fire server in Azure, and they will talk about that today as well. And again, today, Amazon will talk about their deployment of Fire data. So that's a couple of the big players, and well, it's always interesting to see where they go, so you can align your products, etc., with that. If you're in the research type area, or if you're interested in big data, of course, there will be nice presentations for those as well. Of course, you can just select the medical research or the clinical research or the machine learning tracks, and then you will see what interesting topics are available for those. But perhaps if you look at them, you will not know what R on Fire is. And R on Fire, that's about predictive modeling. They will show the use of R on Fire by loading data in the R framework and then doing some reasoning on that data. So, well, a really nice thing to take a look at if you're into the research part of Fire. Cynthia is about generating fake population, but with real medical relevant data. So they have created a platform where you can see that they create a set of Fire patients with observations, etc., to have a nice patient record-based data set. And then that's in bulk. You can say, okay, generate a population of 10,000 people. Well, that's not that much, but you can increase that, of course, as well. So that's a nice session about that massive Fire data. And of course, Josh will also talk about the Fire bulk data API that he has created with his team on Friday. So some other interesting topics that you might not be aware of, or perhaps you've heard of it, but we're not sure that they were here. One is Smart on Fire. That's a nice initiative of creating apps in Fire that work on Fire data that's in existing hospital systems. So that's presented today at 11. Leo will talk about Firecast, which is a specification that makes it, well, wants to make it easier to implement synchronization between systems. So that will be on Thursday. And Apache Camel will be covered as well. So that's an integration framework, middleware-oriented, message-oriented, sorry, and for middleware. So yeah, take a look at that. I had to laugh, actually, and I see Stoyan here, sitting here as well. When I saw the term Flutter, I had never heard of it. And Stoyan thinks that there are more people that have not heard of it. That's from Google, or at least Google created it. Stoyan is not from Google, but he is using Flutter to create his systems and do some automated generation of classes, etc., if I'm correct. So that's just one of the things that you can see in the schedule that you might not be aware of. What is this thing? So please take a look at the schedule and then read through the description. FirePath, that's a navigation and extracting language. It's written specifically to create formal expressions for the Fire specification, but it can be used in other areas as well, so you don't have to use it for Fire only, but Ewout will talk about FirePath and how to extract data with the FirePath extracting language. So those were just some of the topics that you can find in the schedule, and that might not be immediately clear by the name of it what they are. But that doesn't mean that there are not any other interesting topics with clear names. I just haven't mentioned them. I was on the table yesterday sitting with Michelle, who is going to do a talk about clinical notes. Well, everyone will probably know what a clinical note is. That's why it's not in my presentation, but it doesn't mean that it isn't an interesting topic, of course. So please check through your schedule and just circle everything that you think might be interesting. Then, of course, a big part of the Fire Dev Days is also the hands-on. You see the room behind us, it's filled with tables. They all have this sign on top of them telling you what kind of topic is covered on that table. The speakers responsible for those topics will also try to be in that area. So if you say, okay, I'm interested in this system testing that you just showed me on the session list, then please find the table that's about testing. And chances are that Richard Ettema will be present there and will be able to help you out or show his specific topic on the testing. There will also be some exercises. The speakers themselves will announce when they have an exercise, and then you can go to their hands-on session and perform this exercise, and they will be around to help you advance in the exercise so you can learn about the topic they are covering. The hands-on can be done after the sessions, but of course you're also free to skip any sessions and then go coding yourself during other sessions. You can just skip out of them and sit in the hands-on area and do your own exercises. So you can also do it during the session. Another thing that might be interesting to know is that you can also bring your own use case to the hands-on tables. So you're interested in testing? Well, perhaps you can bring your own server to the test and see how it performs against the test scripts that are available to you. Or if you have some modeling issue and you are not clear on how to solve it, please go to the Fire for Specifiers or Modifiers, a modeler table, and then they will be able to help you out and, well, take a look at your use case and discuss it. So bring your own use case is one of the things that you can do, and we encourage you to do as well, because that makes for interesting discussions. Well, then if you have interesting discussions, you can also schedule any breakout sessions. So suppose you get together with a couple of people interested in some topic and you say, oh, actually, we need to have a small room to discuss this further, etc. Then you can go to the registration desk and ask, because we have some rooms available. I think Ewout will talk about this in his opening session as well. But you can just schedule a breakout session and then you can say to the registration desk, well, this is the topic. So it will be on the schedule, and other people interested in it will also be able to join you in that session room. So the ways to share are, well, the breakout sessions, of course, because that's where you share your own ideas and your own knowledge, and perhaps also your own use cases for discussions. But you can also take a look at the community track. I didn't list it in my sessions just now, but that's one of the tracks that you can choose. And in the community track, you will find all kinds of use cases that people have worked on, and they will tell you about their experiences, also about the difficulties they had implementing Fire in their use case. And perhaps also some recommendations of what to do or what not to do. So the community track can be really interesting as well. There's several topics there. So the idea is to learn things, to share, well, either by speaking with the speakers that can share their knowledge or taking your own use case and sharing that, and to connect to other people. So hopefully on Friday you will take home a lot of knowledge and some inspiration, of course, to continue your work with FHIR. Have new ideas and know about new tools, or perhaps have new ideas about creating your own tools for FHIR. And of course have had lots of discussions and connections with other people in the FHIR community, and hopefully you'll have your network after that to be able to reach out to others that are interested in the same things you are doing. So one last tip, don't forget to come to the opening sessions. Today will be at 8:30. They are really nice to go to because, of course, you get a general idea of, well, the layout here and what we are going to do during the FHIR Developer Days. But Ewout will also talk about what happened yesterday, what were the interesting breakout sessions we've seen that were not scheduled beforehand, things like that. So Ewout will also talk about the changes in the schedules and have some general fun with you trying to learn you some Dutch hard to pronounce words. Probably he tries to fill in some of them in his talks usually. So hopefully this gives you a basic idea of where to go from now, but I'm available for any questions at this time. So anything you want to ask me about getting around here and filling your 3 days at FHIR Dev Days. Yes?
Is there a central place where, so I guess online, but for these sort of spontaneously emerging sessions on, is there somewhere here we use physically or somewhere you can keep track of the stuff that's not in the program, or is it only going to be tracked online?
Yeah. So the question is there a place where we can view the changes in the schedule or the new sessions that have been added other than going online? Yes, there is. In every room before the scheduled topic, you will have a presentation listing the day, the session of the day, and they will also have the breakout sessions that have been scheduled. They will also be, I think, will be entered on the paper board that's at the registration desk as well. But of course, that's more static. and if there are a lot of breakout sessions or changes in breakout sessions, etc., then you'll get a lot of extra marks, etc. But they will be on the screens in the session rooms, but also in the hands-on room. There will just be a general repetition of the schedule during the day. So if anything changes, you will see that. And we will also have probably Marita, one of the organization team, announcing if there's anything that's really interesting and added to the schedule. So, yeah. Stojan. Sorry? Wi-Fi. Oh yes, that's a good one. Wi-Fi. The code is in your booklet, so it's the HL7 FHIR Wi-Fi, and it's just Dev Days 18 with 2 capital Ds, and then you're all set. Yeah. Anything else? Well then, I thank you and I hope you have an inspiring event, and don't forget to ask any of the people in the yellow shirts if you come up with a question, or if you want to know if there's a session about some topic that you're interested in. Please talk to us, and well, I wish you a really good 3 days. Thank you.